Welcome back to the next segment of your Move and Nourish element. This week, we're going to dive deeper into nourishing through food and some different questions and tools to ask yourself and implement so that you're feeling so energized from the food that you're intaking. Number one question I want to ask you right now is, if there was one thing you could change about your diet and your intake, what would it be? Pause, answer the question. Okay. If there's one lifestyle change you could make relating to food and nourishment, what would that be to help you feel more energized every day? Take a pause, answer the question. This is some of the very innate information that you already know. So yes, I'm here to offer ideas and help coach you, but I'm also here to provide the space for you to have your own internal rumblings to guide you. You answer those questions, let's dive a little bit deeper into nourishment. We talked about that this is for your sustainable growth and feeling the best ever through food and through other decisions. We're going to dive deeper into relationships and self-care later on, but right now talking specifically about food. I want to share a personal story about myself and one that you may be able to relate to or know that someone knows someone that can. So I mentioned my swimming career and how I'm swimming, training so hard. Food was a tremendous part of this. And at the time, I didn't understand my relationship with food as a way to be nourishing. It was one that was really restrictive. It was one that was about control. At one point, I was really bulimic. And it was really hard for me to understand my relationship with food in a way that could be thriving. Also, especially in America, the food systems can be set up for failure. We have things like factory farming and GMOs and pesticides. It can be a little confusing and overwhelming whether organic, gluten-free, the latest diet, where to get my food from. And again, coming back to your center and understanding what innately works for you. So for myself, I started to see, not only through the overtraining and through some of the ways that I was dealing with my own emotions, that I was also so disconnected from my food. I had no idea where food was coming from. I didn't understand how this could be a way to really truly nourish myself, and I had really no relationship with food. Look at the way restaurants are set up. You're disconnected from the kitchen. You're disconnected from where the food came from. This is in a lot of ways how society has made it. So for yourself, getting into the kitchen to cook, having curiosity around where food comes from, just those two things adds to tremendous healing for yourself because you start to understand that relationship. Eventually, I went on to go to cooking school, and during my time there, what I found is so much of the relationship with food has to do with where is it coming from. So get curious, see what kind of options are out there for yourself. If you're shopping at your major retailer grocery store, think about where is this food actually coming from. When you're eating, just ask yourself that simple question. Whatever answer comes up for you, you're going to start to have information that you're like, oh, I don't like that. Or, oh, I'm so proud to be eating this. I know where it's coming from. I know how they're producing it. This makes me feel good. There is a transfer of energy that's happening in the food from whether it's animal product and how they're getting the animal from the farm to your plate, or the way the food is actually processed. I was having a conversation with my dad the other day, and he asked me, do you know how long it takes a chicken to go from literally beginning life stage of a chicken to your plate? And I said, I don't know, how long? And he said, well, I read 45 days, or maybe it was 55 days. And there's a part of me that thought, that's really unnatural. And that's up to you to decide for yourself. Does that feel good for you? But when you start to have more information and you start to check in and think, that may or may not make the most sense for you, your food decisions will naturally change. So it's like, oh gosh, Linda, now what? So am I going to be gluten-free? I can't eat any wheat. Oh, now I'm not eating animal product. What do I do for protein? It can feel overwhelming, and it doesn't have to. But the more you tune into yourself and make these decisions for yourself, you're going to have the answers. Another powerful question is, what does food mean to me? It's so easy for food to be an emotional coping with mechanism and tool. a long, stressful day at work, eating whatever you want to, feeling like you deserve it, can almost take on a role that over shopping could, or like any addiction could. So check in with yourself and ask, how am I using food and what does this mean to me? When there's obsessive elements to food, like over meal planning or overdoing it, overthinking about the next food, ask yourself, what am I distracting myself from? A lot of distraction can come from food. Another one that's really common is a lot of stress and pressure around food and beverages for social elements, social interactions. So it's almost like you have to eat or you have to drink to be a part of a certain community, and checking in with yourself around, does this support me? And not to mention the financial implications of those consistent decisions. There could be ways that you're hanging out with those same groups, but maybe you're not eating or you're eating before you go. Whatever works for you, but it's a way that it does work for you, and it's not overstraining your bank account, or it's not knocking you out of integrity because it's your fourth meal out this week for work and you're picking the same shitty stuff every time. Have a plan. So you might eat 85,000 meals in a lifetime. A lot of people I say that to, they're like, oh my gosh, that's it? Like, no. But that actually is a lot. You might be eating 3 to 4 meals a day, maybe even 5. Maybe you're eating 2 and X number of days and years in your lifetime. In each given moment, you're making the best decision with what's available to you. There's also such thing as overthinking this and stressing yourself out, which can be counter to what nourishment is all about. So just noticing, how stressed are you around the conversation with food, and knowing that you're making the best decision possible with what's available to you at each moment. We talked in element 1 about how your thoughts are creating your reality. And what I would suggest to you is the thoughts about you and food are also creating a certain reality around what's on your plate and what you feel good or bad about. And the stories that you're telling yourself. Oh my gosh, I'm just so bad. I'm eating ice cream. Now you're generating feelings of guilt. Now you're feeling bad about yourself. Now the next time you do it, you can't enjoy it. How can you bring more joy to your plate and the experience of food and eating so that you're feeling good and not feeling bad every single time? A simple trick that you can start to incorporate with your plate is literally taking a moment, taking a few deep breaths, pausing and being so thankful for that food, and honoring yourself and honoring the healing capabilities and the nourishment you're about to experience. You can offer this up as a prayer. You could offer this inside and with yourself. But that simple act of number 1, pausing, and then number 2, blessing, shifts your whole energy around the experience of nourishing yourself. Also, when you're entering into that state of gratitude, it's an instant way to elevate your feelings and have a positive health response. I've talked a little bit about macros being protein, carbs, and fats, and I also want to talk about your micronutrients. Micronutrients can often be underrated, especially when you're talking about some of the different fad diets where there's such an emphasis on the proteins, carbs, and fats. The ratio of protein, carbs, and fats is very much individualized, and you knowing what makes up the best fit for you is your personal dance. You may be really active and need those carbohydrates. You may find that you do better on a high-fat, high-protein diet. You can play around. There's so much information out there. And the term bioindividuality means this is specific to your own personal biology. So when you're being fed through whether media or your friends with different information, checking in with yourself and noticing how you feel and does this really work for you? And aside from that, asking yourself, what is this adding to me and what is this taking away? Some food is literally almost valueless, right? When it's like eating paper, I like to describe it as. And when you think about micronutrients and the vitamins and minerals that food is adding, you get a lot of information, and you can ask yourself, what is this adding to me? When I think of spinach, I'm literally thinking like, oh my goodness, it's filled with so many micronutrients. This is adding so much to me. Or what is it not adding to you? And what is the opportunity in that moment that you could be adding something really positive? So this is just different ways to change your thinking about food, getting to super simplify the way food works and develop your own personal relationship with the normal foods that you're eating so you feel like you have choices, and it's all about choices available to you to really nourish yourself. This conversation about nourishment and your relationship with food would certainly be amiss if we did not talk about cooking. There are two blanket statements that I literally feel like I could say to anyone to have an increased experience of health. And I'll let you in on the secret. Number one, cook 2 times more a week. And I literally mean cook any meal 2 times more for yourself a week. So if you find yourself right now cooking, say, 4 times a week throughout the various meals, move it to 6. Add in an extra breakfast. Add in an extra dinner that you might find yourself eating out. Your health will transform. And that is because you are purely involved in the choice of ingredients. And I'm saying cook. Cook from scratch. Have your go-tos, which we'll get a little bit more into, but know what it is for you. It's not warming up the chicken McNuggets. It's cooking for yourself. Okay, so we're talking about cooking, we're talking about being in the kitchen, and what I first want to talk about is just literally a day in the life. What I would suggest to someone that they can add into their life to really experience that next level of vitality. We're gonna go through a lot here, and just know that you get to make this your own. This is not gospel, this is not law, this is not the way it has to be, but see what you're feeling drawn to. Maybe some of it you're already doing. There are gonna be a lot of different options, and there's gonna be a PDF on all of this so you can start having something visual to look at and incorporate into your kitchen, ingredients-wise and recipe-wise, to start implementing now. So you wake up in the morning, it's a new day, now what? Get some water. Drink some water. I cannot stress this enough as the first thing that you do each day. With the water, getting that to be room temperature or even a little bit warm is going to help get your digestive juices flowing. Aside from that, if you want to add a little bit of sea salt or apple cider vinegar or lemon, this can be really alkalizing to your body. So, sea salt, apple cider vinegar, or lemon, or a nice little cocktail of all of them. You can even add a little bit of honey if it needs to be sweetened for you. Start your day off with that. Maybe you make an 8 ounce of that concoction, and then you have another 20 ounces of just water to start pumping your body, getting your blood flowing, and feeling super hydrated. Okay, so now you've had your water, now what? Smoothies can be your best friend. Whether you want to have a smoothie as your next intake or you want to have breakfast, it's totally up to you, but you got to get something inside of you. Intermittent fasting can be a great tool, which is to delay eating till you get further along in the day and have a very short period of your intake. That can be a great tool to use for a few days to let some of your body systems reset. But on regularity, just your everyday, getting nourishment in right when you get up, whether through food or a smoothie, is critical. So when we're talking about a smoothie, having your liquid, something that you're going to mix it with, so it could be water, some kind of milk, maybe an organic whole milk, or maybe one of these non-dairy milks like almond milk or coconut milk, finding what resonates with you, adding in some fruit, adding in some greens, and then some optionals. It could be an avocado, it could be a nut butter, it could be a protein powder, making your own mix. My favorite go-to smoothie is berries, spinach, a little almond butter or an avocado, adding in a greens powder, some kind of protein powder, usually vegan or a collagen powder for the protein powder, and mixing that up with coconut or almond milk. That's my go-to. Find your go-to. An easy way to do this is when you go to a smoothie place and you have a smoothie you like, figure out what's in it and start making that at home. Don't be afraid to use what's in season and really mix it up so that you're not getting sick and tired to the same old thing. So we talked about your smoothie. Okay, what about if you want to eat something? Simple go-tos. It could be an overnight oats or granola paired with some kind of yogurt or nut butter or berries or hemp seed or chia seed. The overnight oats you could literally prepare overnight, let them soak, and then eat, or you can make them fresh that day. Another great option is having eggs or avocado, adding some kind of whole grain bread or carbohydrate to have that on top of as a sandwich. There are so many different things you can do to start your day off right. And having your own personal rotation of what you like and what works is going to be awesome. Your go-tos. Find your go-tos. So there doesn't have to be this thinking. You know what you can do. Some of my other favorites, I personally have a gluten-free diet. I love to make as a treat gluten-free pancakes, having a little nut butter on that, adding a little sweet syrup on top of it, having my berries. It's something to get my morning started. Also having the avocado toast, putting some of that hummus on top or olive oil on top, making this as balanced and well-rounded as possible. Using different beans as a protein, whether in the form of a bean spread or some kind of smash, can be such an easy way to add protein into your diet in a plant-based manner.